So let's switch gears to the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets currently 3-1. Last game, they beat the Washington Wizards. Check this out. 159-158. James Harden had a 59-point performance. Russell Westbrook had a triple-double, and they only won by 1 point. You guys encouraged or discouraged by the Rockets' performances?
I mean, I never loved the team regardless. As I said last week, they're not going to win a championship. I don't think they'll even get close to sniffing one. I honestly think that, offensively they're amazing, obviously, but defensively there's almost nothing there. Like PJ Tucker, I think, and Clint Capella might be their only two defenders. Outside of that, I don't think this really works in the playoffs. As we've seen in the past, the refs don't call as many fouls, at least shooting fouls, as they do in the regular season. Obviously, Harden and Westbrook rely on that a lot. I don't think it works in the playoffs. I think obviously they'll probably get to round 2, but outside of that, I'm not really encouraged by their play so far.
Oh, I have to disagree. I am encouraged.
Here we go.
Well, listen, going into this Rocket system, there was no defense anyway. I don't know. They're really offensive minded in general. So it's to see them score 159 points, but then they gave them 158. Obviously, it's a good look and a bad look, but I think just seeing Westbrook and Harden playing together encourages me because a lot of people had doubts about them, a lot of ball stopping they felt, but I think that they feed pretty well off each other, especially because they have a history, played together in OKC obviously, and I think it's, at least for the regular season, they'll be very good, but come playoff time, again, like you said, the defense might come to bite them.
But you're encouraged.
Yes, I am.
So we got discouraged, we got encouraged. Yos? Mr. Rockets fan right here.
I've seen in the first game, from the first game, there was a tremendous improvement, I think, both in terms of offense and defense. I know, not every game is going to look like that Wizards game that they played. There were a couple of plays, Harden lobbing it to Westbrook shows how they're moving more off the ball now. Westbrook's connection to Harden in the game they played prior to the Washington Wizards game. I think all of those are positives, and their defense has improved. They gamble a lot. If you watch the game, they gamble a lot for steals, which is why they allow opponents to blow by them so fast, and then opponents are just shooting a very high clip from the three-point line against them. I don't think that's going to last throughout the season. I certainly don't think it's going to last into the playoffs, and the intensity gets higher, and people regress to the mean. So that end, I'm also very encouraged by the fact that they're rebounding better. They were in the bottom third of the league last year in defensive rebounds, and now they're 16th. And I think that they have the potential to get better. That's all thanks to Russell Westbrook and Clint Capella working together.
Okay, I understand the offensive performances. The Rockets are doing phenomenal on that end. It's magical. James Harden, 59-point performance. Russell Westbrook, triple-double. One of them was saying earlier that they believe that the media takes that for granted. I agree a little bit, but wait a second. You scored 159 points. You got a triple-double out of Russell Westbrook. You got 59 points out of James Harden. And you win by 1 point against the Washington Wizards? Not the Clippers, not the Lakers, not the Bucks. The Wizards? I have to be discouraged. Because you know what? That's not going to happen. Russell Westbrook triple-double, James Harden 59 performances, that's not going to happen on a consistent basis. Now, defense is a consistent act. You need, being locked in defensively, that is huge. The Houston Rockets, when they lost CP3, as good as Russell Westbrook is on that offensive end, just because he's never had that much shooters around him, and just because they run faster in transition as well, it's great. Offensively, it's a perfect fit. But defensively, you have me, I'm worried. They need to desperately address this problem, the front office, and they need to go and they need to trade for some defensive players because this team is in trouble. If they don't have their defensive players, I don't see them lasting in the playoffs against defensive teams like the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Pat Beverly and Paul George, or the Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron. It's just not going to work.
I will say this. I honestly do think Russell Westbrook having a triple-double and James Harden scoring 40 points a game is probably going to happen. I think that's actually something that could happen. I think this is, regardless of how well they do, it's going to be an incredibly fun team to watch. They'll put up 150 points a game, whatever, and even if they lose by 25 still, it's still going to be an incredible game to watch. Also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Russell Westbrook and James Harden, when they got like at each other and started yelling at each other, I don't know about you, but I love that. Like, that's just the intensity that both of them have for the game. Obviously, as you mentioned, they're very good friends, played together in OKC. They both have a passion for the game. They both want to win. I still don't think they will. I still don't think they're going to do very well, but I just love to see that type of intensity.
Well, obviously, defense is the big question here, giving up 158 to the Wizards, and they give up a lot of just open shots. Like you said, they gamble a lot, and that's something that I think they can work out. Just not like going gambling like that every time, trying to get steals, because they give up a lot of really open shots. Not like the Wizards are making tough shots, so that's why defense is an issue. But like it's Westbrook and Harden, they're gonna be great together, and that's why I'm like really encouraged. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would say that I think it is something that can last into the playoffs. I think that a lot of times, especially in the last couple of years, you saw James Harden and Chris Paul working together. During the playoffs, you can kind of see some sort of friction. Like there were times when they would play in the playoffs, and I would much rather just have Chris Paul out there than James Harden because the offense ran smoother there. But I think with Russell Westbrook and James Harden on the floor together, they can actually play well.
That's true.
They can share the ball on the on the offensive side. Excuse me. On the defensive side of the ball, I think they are going to tighten up. They're not a rookie team. These aren't the Atlanta Hawks or the Kings we're talking about. This is
Hey, don't disrespect my Kings. Don't disrespect. Westchester Kings are here. Don't disrespect the Kings.
Listen, Kings bottom in plus minus 85, worse than.
Oh, stop. Oh, you got De'Aaron Fox. You got Buddy. I don't want to get too off topic. De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield. I'm sorry. Let's go back.
But my point is that they are a veteran team, so I don't think they're going to have these types of intensity problems in the playoffs. I think during the regular season, yeah, fine. Are they going to compete for every single loose ball? Are they going to try to make every shot that difficult? Probably not. Most of the average age on this team is like 30 years old. They're not veterans who are just going to be inspired to prove anything. They all have their contracts. I think that going into the playoffs, the Rockets are probably going to be one of the better teams. And I think that they'll perform well in the playoffs.
So you know what the problem is, with that? Russell Westbrook and James Harden, throughout their entire careers, they post like historical regular seasons. Russell Westbrook, averaging a triple-double. James Harden, averaging 36 points last season. In my opinion, one of the most underappreciated scorers in NBA history when it comes to the regular season. But now you bring up playoffs, and playoffs are a whole different animal. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, name the last time where they came through in the clutch in the playoffs.
Easily.
Okay, Mr. Rockets fan, let's go.
James Harden averaged 30 points against the Warriors last year. This idea that calls are harder to get in the playoffs is not backed up by any.
Wait, did they advance in that series?
Yeah, but it's not James Harden against the Warriors. It was the Houston Rockets. Look, if Eric Gordon shoots like 20% from three, that's not James Harden's fault. If Chris Paul is injured and he plays like crap, it's not James Harden's fault. If Clint Capella doesn't get defensive rebounds against Draymond Green, James Harden can't do anything about that. It's dependent on Russell Westbrook or James Harden to say that they never made it out of the.
I'm not pinning on it. James Harden's, it's evident that James Harden's points performance in the playoffs, they go down drastically. His stats diminish. They decrease. And that's what I'm concerned about in the playoffs. It's all the fatigue in the regular season because James Harden, let's just not dispute it. He loves to hold the ball. He's a huge ball handler, and he does a lot in the regular season. And what happens is, over time, it accumulates, and he gets tired. And when playoffs come, he's not as efficient as he is in the regular season. That's what I'm thinking.
Right, but I can make the same point for Russell Westbrook in the playoffs before he had James Harden. So when they were apart for those 7 years or whatever it was, and Harden was traded to Houston before Westbrook came to join him, they weren't playing for the most part with another. Westbrook had Durant for a couple of years, but they weren't playing with a high caliber type of ball handler who they know well. I think. Now that the Rockets have their core and they know each other well enough, and they're going to have, the defensive players like PJ Tucker, you have Clint Capella, Tyson Chandler, Thabo Sefolosha, even Austin Rivers and Eric Gordon can play some defense. I just
not against the Wizards. Not against the Wizards. Not 157 points.
Fine. I just think that teams are going to score a lot of points at some point. Look, as long as they won, right? I mean, the Wizards gave up 159 points. I'd rather give up 159.
No, there was just no defense at all played that entire game, and Rockets aren't going to give up 158 points every night.
There's a chance that game might have just been an anomaly. Again, it's early on in the season.
Third highest scoring game ever.
Wow. So it's like. Yeah, I mean, you probably won't see it every night, but at the same time, it's like Yeah, I mean the Rockets the defense is obviously still a question. I mean it's just early on in the season, probably too early to tell. I just think so far it's just I think regardless that they're not going to come close to a championship. So I'm discouraged only because of the fact that I don't think that they'll win the championship.
Yeah, I mean, I'm encouraged, but I never really saw them as championship.
Yeah, exactly.
In this heavy, the heavy West.
You know what? The way I think about it, it's I think of this Game of Zones episode I saw. It was Mike D'Antoni saying, double the offense, half the defense. That's how it is. 158, 157. And hopefully the Rockets, they do better on the defensive end and acquire some players there.